All right, guys, for this one, we're just gonna go with it. So today, we are going to be customizing this. This is the Arwing from the game Starlink, Battle for Atlas. Now, a lot of us played that game, and a lot of us didn't use these. Now, the only reason I have one of these is because I bought it at Best Buy during, I think, Black Friday or something like that. I think I got it for like $5. When the game came out, I just bought it digitally. You know, I didn't really want to use the toys, but you know, once it was $5, I was like, yeah, I want one of these because I wanted to have it to display, which is what I know a lot of you have them for too. But we're gonna go and take this a step further. We're gonna go ahead and pretty much give this thing as much of a realistic makeover as we possibly can. So this is probably gonna be filmed over a couple of days, so if my shirt changes, you know, it's okay, don't worry. But essentially what we're gonna be doing is, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna do a black wash over the whole thing. And I'll explain that as I go along. That's gonna give it like a weathered look, like it's been, you know, like it's been out in battle. And then after that, we're gonna go back and we're gonna give it another wash, but we're gonna do it in certain spots and it's gonna be with brown. And I'll get back to that in a minute. But after all of that, we're also gonna go in with some silver paint and we're gonna dry brush. That's gonna give the illusion that the paint has peeled up in some spots or been chipped away and exposing like the bare metal underneath. So we'll do all that to this. We're gonna get it looking good. And I'm also, if you can see here, I've already taken out one of the little blue missiles here. And I have it right here. I'm actually, once it's done, I'm gonna have this thing probably, you know, about that far out. It's gonna be fired and it's gonna be followed by a little spiral smoke trail. So I'll explain how we're gonna do all that. I think it's gonna look pretty cool. Now, something else we're gonna do with this is we're gonna actually have it mounted on a base. I have the top of an old box that I've painted black, and we're gonna go ahead and put sand on the top of it. And we're gonna have this thing angled, maybe something like that, you know, something like that. It's gonna be really low to the sand. So as I was saying earlier about the brown wash, what we're gonna do is kind of do the underneath a little bit, just a little bit more brown, and maybe some of the areas where, you know, some dirt would cake in, just to give it, like I said, more of a realistic look. And we're gonna have it maybe skimming across the ground, really low. And I mean, hopefully this is gonna really look like an awesome display piece. Now, all this stuff that I've mentioned, this is not stuff that I've made up or that, you know, I am the originator of in any way. To tell you the truth, I watch a guy here on YouTube, also named Chris. His channel is Cosplay Chris, and he does a lot of what he calls custom collectibles. And honestly, just by watching his channel, I've gotten into doing this type of stuff a ton. So I felt like having something like this and maybe incorporating some of the stuff that he does for this, for a video for you guys, would just be really a good fit. So I'll leave a link to his channel below. Definitely go and check him out because some of the custom stuff that he does is absolutely incredible. And it's all with just, you know, regular toys you can go buy from Walmart or Target. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get the black wash going on this. If my shirt changes, don't be alarmed. It's okay. And like I said, I will explain every step of the way what we're doing with this. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing we gotta do before we get started is we have to get this thing taken completely apart. And that is actually gonna be pretty easy for this one because all these parts come off of the plane anyway. So we're gonna take the two guns, set those aside for now, and we will go ahead and take off the wings. And one other thing I wanna do before we get started is I want to put some tape on the window because we're gonna be doing a lot of painting to this, and I don't want anything to get on that window. So we'll go ahead and do that now. All right. That should be good. That'll keep that blue, nice and blue. All right, so the next step, once you get it all taken apart, you definitely want to grab some gloves. Okay, so the first layer of weathering is actually just going to be black shoe polish. I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, it works well, and you'll see in a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in a bowl and then just start applying it all over the surface of the entire thing, all the parts. And what you pretty much do is you paint it on and then wipe the excess off with like a paper towel or a rag or something. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick and then we'll get on to the next step. What you're really trying to do with this is get it down into the cracks. You really just want to get down into the cracks just so whenever you wipe the rest of it away, it's gonna show off all the detail that's in the plastics, because the paint jobs on these things really don't show off a whole lot. So this is pretty small. It really doesn't take much to get it covered. Make sure you really work it in. All the little crevices, that's the biggest part. The wings are looking pretty weathered. They're looking pretty good. Pretty happy with those. Do a little bit more with the blue, but a lot of the silver is gonna really what's gonna make that blue look weathered. And I know they have a weird shine to them right now, but after all this is over, we're gonna go back with everything and put this matte clear finish over it. Okay, so putting this thing back together here real quick, you can already see that it's got ton more detail and it looks like it's been in at least a little bit of battle. So we'll go ahead and seal this in with the matte finish and get the black, you know, on there, and then we're gonna come back with the brown, and then I'm gonna show you, it's a little bit different technique of what I'm gonna do, but it'll all make sense once it's on the base. So I'll head outside and do that, and then we'll get right back to it. Okay, while that is outside drying, we're gonna go ahead and start on the base. Now, what I have here is the top of a box that I got at a craft store. You can see where the hinges were there. So I've just taken that off and I've painted it black. And we're gonna keep the edges black. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take glue and some of this sand and some play sand that I have in the back of the car there, and we're gonna put glue all over the top of this, pretty much dump the sand on, let it dry, move away the excess, and then we're gonna go back in and do some more stuff to it. But we'll go ahead and get that done first and move on from there. Remember, this is only the first coat. There's gonna be several different layers of sand and rocks and foam and different stuff just to give it a lot of texture and make it look as realistic as possible. Okay, so now we can take this out and let this dry, and we'll bring the ship back in and start on the rest of the weathering of that. All right. Now the black is, you know, just like I said, it's the first layer. So now we're really gonna start adding the detail in. The brown and then the silver are what's gonna really add the detail. So what we're gonna do, instead of painting the brown all over like we did the black, we're gonna focus on where it would be picking up dirt. So along the front of the wings, around the base of like the guns, you know, on the underneath part, down here. So we'll do that next, and we're gonna do it a little bit different. We're gonna use the same type of thing. We're using brown shoe polish. So what we're gonna do this time, instead of just caking it on, start here at the front of this wing. What we're gonna do is just kind of lay it along the edge and then just kind of smear it back. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go in and we're gonna dry brush with some silver acrylic paint. What this is gonna do is make it look like, especially on the blue here and maybe some up here too, it'll probably look pretty good, but especially on the darker parts, it's gonna make it look like there's like exposed metal, like there's been paint chipped up or, you know, something like that. So we'll go in and we'll dry brush it, which means we're gonna put a little bit on the end of the brush and then pretty much take all of the paint back off the brush just so there's a little bit. And what you pretty much do is just go over the whole thing and just, that's it. I mean, that's really it. But it'll catch on all the edges, it'll give the illusion that it's been, you know, chipped off, and it'll look pretty natural. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then this part will be pretty much done. So I'm gonna show you a little bit of this, but I'm not gonna show you everything because I don't wanna ruin the final reveal. So here's the base. You can see it's got a nice first layer of sand on it. So that's good enough to start. We're gonna be putting a ton more stuff on here, so that's totally fine. It's not all the way dry, but it's dry enough for us to start doing what we're gonna do with it now. What I wanna do is make some little rock formations and stuff. I'm gonna take this foam, and I'm pretty much just gonna break pieces off of it, and then I'm gonna glue them down all over the sand here. We're just going for the most realistic looking sandy desert base that we can get here. And as you can see, when you start breaking it off here, it really already starts to have a little bit of a rock look to it. It's a little dusty. Whew, it's dusty. All right, so there we have it. A rock. This is actually what's going to be holding up the ship once we get it all done. I need that just for reference, just so I know where things can go and where they can't. So I'm just gonna start laying these out, kind of how I think they might look good. The ship's gonna be about right there, facing this way. So I guess I could probably put some back here too, but I might have another idea for that, so I'm gonna leave that open. So I think for the big rocks, this is gonna be fine. So now, we're gonna go ahead and just glue them right down to the base, because the glue on the sand here is actually still wet, so it should all go right together. And don't worry about that glue sticking out of the bottom there. This glue dries clear, so you won't even see that, and it's probably gonna be covered up by a ton of other rocks anyway. Okay guys, it's not the next day, but I actually skipped ahead a little bit, and I probably should have been filming all this, but I didn't, so I wanna go ahead and just let you know what I just did, so if you're trying to do this, you can do it as well. So here is what the base looks like now. I'm gonna have to repaint the sides, but it definitely looks like a rocky surface now. That is for sure. Okay, so what I did, last time you saw it, I had the one coat of sand, which was fine. So I went back and used a tan spray paint and spray painted all these rocks and pretty much everything. Then after that, I went back in with a darker brown and just kind of sprayed some of it and along the edges of the rocks until it kind of started to get, just different shades. And then I came in with a really, really dark brown and kind of did around the edges. And as you can see here, it's a little bit more brown right there. And you can see kind of the tops of the rocks and some of the sides here are a little bit more brown. But I just did all three of those all around just to give it like a different, different textures and dimension. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out so far. So I'm gonna let this dry for real this time, and then we'll come back to this tomorrow. All right, so it's a day later. The base is pretty much dry here. It's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this sand here. So the next thing we need to do, we've only really got a few things left. We need to mount this in place from the underneath, which I'm gonna do with a hot glue gun. We need to get the ship mounted on here. I'm gonna use some of this, which is like pillow stuffing. Make it look like this little rocket has been shot out of here, and the smoke will be like a trail coming out of it. So we're gonna have to paint a little bit on that. We'll have to shape this and then put a little bit of black spray paint on it, just a little bit, just to make it look like, like gray smoke. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So I am gonna go ahead and finish the little bit of the black that I have to paint around the base again, and then this thing is done, and I will go ahead and show it to you right now. Alright guys, so that is gonna do it for this one. I'm really, really, really happy with the way this thing turned out. I think it looks super awesome. And I think this one is probably gonna go somewhere right back there once I get a shelf or something like that. But I'm thinking about doing a few more of these if I can get a hold of these ships. So if anybody knows where I can find any of these, definitely let me know. I know Arlo has about 40,000 of them. Maybe I can hit him up for some. But yeah, guys, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I know there's some stuff I kind of skipped over. So if you've got any questions at all, like I said, leave them down below. But that is gonna do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like on this video. Feel free to subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.